take a peek first at achieving a target duration for a portfolio. And when you're looking at what you need to know specifically for the exam, you might need to know how to calculate a notional principal. And I'm going to walk you through a really good example of that. Now, notional principal of a swap will amend a portfolio's modified duration, and it's really based on a view. You know, does our particular portfolio manager believe interest rates are going to go up, or do they believe they're going to go down? And then they're going to look at taking some sort of position there in order to modify their exposure. So that's a good word to use too. And you're going to see that as we go throughout our various examples. That should come back to your mind is, what are we doing to modify exposures to market conditions? So we have the notional principal of swap. Once again, amend a portfolio's modified duration from the modified duration of the portfolio, which is our existing one, to some sort of target, which is our one here. So let's go ahead and take a look at our formula. And if you are studying for the level 3 exam, you need to commit this to memory right there. And it's not really that difficult of an equation. And when we're going to look at futures in a little bit too, and equity futures, it sort of looks a little bit similar. So you're going to need to know this particular formula. And we saw that we have our target duration, our portfolio current duration, then we have our duration of our swap, and then the market value of our portfolio. It's pretty much plugging in the numbers in the right places to get to our answer. So little tidbit, little side note here is the net position may not behave as intended due to the swap and the portfolio assets not performing identically. I would say this is a definition kind of question here. We call that basis risk or spread risk. So you can put that away in your mental Rolodex. It's pretty much a generic problem when using derivatives to modify exposure. It's finding the right derivative that exactly matches a portfolio can be somewhat difficult. So let's look at an example. That's why you're here. So achieving a target duration. So we got a manager who owns or holds 50 million euro portfolio of a fixed rate German bond with an average modified duration of 5.5. So when you're looking at a particular case fact here, you've got to ask yourself, what is the exposure? You're gonna, like I say, you're gonna hear that coming over and over and over again. So what is his concern here? He owns a fixed rate German bond. What is he concerned with? Well, he's concerned with interest rate changes, right? And being that he is long portfolio of bonds, he's going to be concerned with interest rates moving which way, and you would have to ask yourself that as well. So he is really concerned with rates going up because he is a fixed asset owner here. So he wants to reduce his exposure, see? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our modified duration of 5.5 and lower it to 4.5 to once again reduce exposure, but he doesn't want to sell the actual bonds. So what can we do when looking at a swap? So explain the motivation for reducing the modified duration and then how a swap could be used to achieve the target. I think fabulous kind of test question. Given that the 2-year interest rate swap has an estimated modified duration of 2 in absolute terms, we got to compute the notional principal of the swap required to achieve the modified duration target. Very straightforward kind of test question. You can see this probably even in an item set rather than say a constructive response type question. So a party with a positive duration, as we saw here with our portfolio manager, will lose, right? If interest rates rise, he's a fixed asset holder, the loss being proportionate to the size of the duration. So the manager must fear that rates will rise. I think that's great explanation. So a pay fixed position in an interest rate swap will in fact have a negative modified duration, right? The modified duration of the receipts is lower than the modified duration of the payments. So such a position added to the portfolio is going to reduce our modified duration. He wants to reduce that exposure. So what kind of required notional principal will he need? And once again, you need to memorize this formula, take the numbers from the prior screen, drop them right into your formula here. So we see we want to have a target duration of 4.5. The portfolio is at 5.5, and there's our modified duration of the swap right there. Okay. Now it's 2 as absolute terms, but it's -2 for our fixed rate payer. But in order to do this, we need a notional principal of 25 million euros. And that would be an excellent item set test question for your exam. So we're looking to lower duration because we want to lower interest rate exposure. And this is using a swap to do that. And the notional principal required for that swap would be 25 million euros. So pretty straightforward stuff. And when I was studying for the level 3 exam and looking over this stuff, I was like, oh my word, it's really difficult. But after a little while, you know, working through some math and working through the logic of it, it just starts to click. And it's more and more practice will help you make this click too.